January 1941. A small hotel room in Madrid. Juan Pujol García, a 28-year-old Spanish chicken farmer with no intelligence training whatsoever, sits across from a British embassy official and makes an audacious proposal. He wants to become a spy for Britain against Nazi Germany. The British official looks at Garcia with barely concealed contempt. No military experience, no intelligence background, no connections in Germany, no useful city or skills. The official's response is polite but final. "Thank you for your patriotism, but we have no use for you." Garcia walks out of that embassy with something the British official failed to recognise: an obsessive hatred of fascism born from surviving Spain's brutal civil war, and a creative mind that operates in ways trained intelligence officers would never consider. Most rejected volunteers would give up at this point. Garcia does the opposite. If the British won't let him spy for them, he'll spy for them anyway, without their knowledge, without their permission. He'll just need to trick someone else first. Someone who actually wants spies. Someone like the Germans. 3 weeks later, Garcia walks into the German embassy in Madrid with a completely different story. He's a fanatical Spanish fascist who despises Britain. He has business contacts in London who can help him travel there. He wants to spy for the glorious Third Reich against the British dogs who rejected him. The Germans are much less sceptical than the British. Spain is officially neutral but pro-Axis. A Spanish businessman with London connections? Perfect. They recruit him immediately, provide a crash course in invisible ink and secret communications, give him the codename Alaric, and send him to Britain with instructions to report on British military movements, ship departures, and defensive preparations. There's just one problem with this plan. Garcia never goes to Britain. He goes to Lisbon, Portugal instead, finds a public library, buys a blue guide to England, a map of Britain, and a Portuguese railway timetable. And from a rented room in Lisbon, using nothing but tourist guidebooks and his imagination, Garcia begins sending intelligence reports to his German handlers describing military activities he's supposedly witnessing in London. The Germans believe every word. They have no idea their new agent hasn't left the Iberian Peninsula. And Garcia has no idea he's about to accidentally become the most important spy of World War II. But first, he needs to convince his wife this insane plan isn't going to get them both killed. Garcia's wife, Araceli, stares at him like he's lost his mind. "You're going to pretend to spy in Britain while sitting in Lisbon, writing fake reports using a travel guidebook." "The Germans will never know," Garcia insists. "They've never been to Britain either. And when they ask you to verify something specific, when they want details you can't possibly know from a tourist guide." Garcia grins. "Then I'll make it up, convincingly. It's completely insane. It might also work." Garcia begins crafting intelligence reports with obsessive attention to detail. He studies newsreels showing British uniforms and equipment. He reads British newspapers available in Lisbon to learn about rationing, blackout regulations, and civilian morale. He examines shipping schedules to invent plausible ship movements. When Germans ask about specific military installations, he invents descriptions that sound authoritative, because he writes with confidence that eliminates doubt. His reports describe British defensive positions around Liverpool, troop concentrations near Dover, new radar installations on the southern coast, ship departures from Glasgow, RAF squadron movements, all completely fabricated, all written as if he's personally observing these activities while travelling around Britain on business. The Germans eat it up. They send him more money, request more reports, ask him to expand his coverage to other cities. Within 6 months, Garcia has convinced his handlers he's one of their most productive agents in Britain. But Garcia makes mistakes, inevitable mistakes. He reports ships leaving Liverpool that actually departed from different ports. He describes military units stationed in places they've never been. He invents weather conditions that don't match actual British weather. Any competent intelligence officer cross-referencing his reports with other sources should notice the errors immediately. The problem is that Garcia's fake intelligence matches what the Germans want to believe. Britain is weak. Britain is unprepared. Britain can be invaded. Garcia's reports confirm German assumptions, so German intelligence officers explain away inconsistencies rather than questioning their source. Then British intelligence notices something alarming. German military planning documents captured in North Africa reference a mysterious Abwehr agent codenamed Alaric, operating somewhere in Britain. An agent the British have never identified. An agent who apparently moves freely around the country gathering intelligence. An agent who shouldn't exist because British counterintelligence supposedly monitors all German spy networks in Britain. The British start hunting for Alaric. They have no idea they're looking for a man who isn't even in their country, and Garcia has no idea the British are about to find him, which will change everything. Because when the British finally track Alaric to Lisbon, they were going to make him an offer that transforms him from a solo amateur into something far more dangerous. February 1942. A knock on Garcia's hotel door in Lisbon. He opens it, expecting the landlord. Instead, 3 British intelligence officers stand in the hallway, wearing expressions that suggest they are trying to decide whether to recruit him or arrest him. "Mr. Garcia," the lead officer says carefully, "we'd like to discuss your recent correspondence with the German Abwehr, specifically the intelligence reports you've been sending from London." Garcia's heart stops. His wife goes pale. They've been caught. The British know, which means the Germans will soon know, which means they're both dead. But the officer's next words make no sense. "We'd like to offer you a job." For the past 8 months, British intelligence explains, they've been monitoring German communications and repeatedly seeing references to Agent Alaric's reports from Britain. They've been desperately trying to identify which German spy network was operating so effectively under their noses. When they finally traced the reports to Lisbon and realized Garcia had been fabricating everything from a hotel room, their reaction wasn't anger. It was something closer to admiration mixed with opportunity. "You've managed to convince the German intelligence service that you're their most productive agent in Britain," the officer continues. "You've done this with no training, no support, and no actual presence in the country. That's either remarkably lucky or remarkably skilled. We're betting on skilled." The British proposal is straightforward. Come to Britain for real. Continue sending reports to the Germans, but now the British will control what those reports say. Garcia becomes a double agent, working for Germany while actually working for Britain. The Germans will continue trusting him because he's already established credibility. The British will use that trust to feed the Germans carefully crafted disinformation. Garcia has one question. "Why should I trust you? You rejected me a year ago." The officer has the grace to look embarrassed. "We made a mistake. We didn't recognize your potential. We're recognizing it now." Garcia looks at Araceli. She's terrified, but nods slightly. They've come this far on their own. Might as well see where this goes with professional support. "I have conditions," Garcia says. "My wife works with me. She's been helping since the beginning. This is a partnership or nothing." The officer considers. "Agreed, but understand something. Once you formally become a British double agent, you're entering the most dangerous game in intelligence work. You'll be lying to both sides. One mistake, one inconsistency, one moment where the Germans doubt you and you're done. They'll hunt you, they'll kill you, and there's nothing we can do to protect you once that happens." Garcia smiles for the first time since the knock on the door. "I've been playing this game for 8 months already. The difference now is I'll have help making the lies more believable." The British give him a new code name for their operations, Agent GARBO, because he's about to deliver the performance of a lifetime. Garcia arrives in Britain in April 1942 and immediately begins the most audacious intelligence operation of the war. His mission? Create a fictional spy network so elaborate, so detailed, so convincing that German intelligence never questions whether it actually exists. He starts with himself, Agent GARBO, the network controller based in London. Then he invents sub-agents. A fanatical Welsh nationalist who hates the English, a Venezuelan businessman with access to shipping information, a Swiss businessman with contacts in war production, a Portuguese commercial traveller, an American serviceman stationed in Britain, each character carefully designed with plausible motivations for spying, realistic access to information, and distinct personalities. But Garcia doesn't stop there. His fictional agents recruit their own fictional sub-agents. The Welsh nationalist recruits 2 brothers, one in the military and one working at munitions factories. The Venezuelan businessman recruits his girlfriend who works at a ministry. The Portuguese traveller recruits a pilot. Within months, Garcia is managing reports from what the Germans believe is a network of 27 active agents spread across Britain. The logistics become absurd. Garcia must remember which fake agent supposedly lives where, what information they can plausibly access, how they communicate when they travel. He maintains personality profiles for each character. The Welsh nationalist's reports are spelled poorly because he has limited education. The Swiss businessman's reports are precise and analytical. The American serviceman's reports use American slang. The British provide Garcia with a secure house in North London, where he works with his wife and a team of intelligence officers. They craft reports together, checking details obsessively. Every ship departure must match actual schedules. Every military unit mentioned must actually exist. Every piece of information must be accurate except for the crucial details that the British want to manipulate. The Germans pay Garcia monthly stipends for his network's operations. He has to create elaborate stories about how he distributes this money to his fake agents. When the Germans suggest he recruit more sources, he invents new characters on the spot. One fake agent dies during an air raid. Garcia sends a fictional obituary and requests the Germans send condolence money to the widow who doesn't exist. The operation requires Garcia to write an average of 5 secret ink letters per week, over 300 messages per year, thousands of words of carefully crafted fiction designed to look like intelligence. And every single message must be convincing enough that the Germans never suspect. By early 1944, German intelligence considers Garbo's network the most valuable intelligence asset they have in Britain. They trust him completely, which means when D-Day approaches and the Allies need the Germans to believe something crucial but false, they have the perfect channel to deliver that deception. And Garcia has no idea his fictional network is about to change the course of history. May 1944, Allied invasion of Europe is imminent. The Germans know it's coming. The only questions are where and when. The entire success of D-Day depends on the Germans believing the invasion will hit Pas-de-Calais, the closest point to Britain, when it's actually targeting Normandy 150 miles west. British intelligence needs the Germans to keep their strongest forces at Calais even after the Normandy landings begin. They need the Germans to believe Normandy is a diversion, not the main attack. And they need someone the Germans trust completely to tell them this lie. They need Garbo. The plan is dangerous and complex. Garcia's fictional network will discover evidence of a massive Allied army group stationed in southeast England, the first United States Army group under General Patton. This phantom army appears real through elaborate deception. Fake radio traffic, dummy tanks and landing craft visible to German reconnaissance controlled leaks through diplomatic channels. Garcia's reports will confirm what German intelligence wants to believe. The main invasion force is preparing at Calais. Normandy is a feint designed to draw German reserves away from the real target. The Germans must not reinforce Normandy. They must hold their panzer divisions at Calais and wait for the true invasion. The problem? Garcia's reports must arrive at exactly the right time. Too early and the Germans might investigate and discover the deception. Too late, and they'll already know the truth from the battlefield. The timing window is less than 24 hours. Garcia works around the clock in early June, coordinating messages from his phantom network. His fictional agents report on troop movements around Dover, tank concentrations near Folkestone, landing craft assembling in Thames estuary. Everything points to Calais. Then on June the 5th, Garcia learns the invasion launches the next morning. He has less than 18 hours to send his most important message, a message that must arrive in German hands after the Normandy landings begin, but before German commanders make their critical decision about reinforcements. If he sends it too early, it looks suspicious. If he sends it too late, it's useless. If the Germans doubt it for even a moment, tens of thousands of Allied soldiers landing on French beaches will face the full force of German armoured divisions that should be waiting uselessly at Calais. Garcia has one chance to get this right. One message to change the entire war. And he's about to send it at 3 o'clock in the morning while Allied soldiers are already crossing the English Channel toward the beaches of Normandy. June 6, 1944, 3 a.m., Garcia sits at his radio transmitter in London, composing the most important message of his life. On the beaches of Normandy, Allied soldiers are wading through surf toward German machine guns. In Berlin, Hitler is sleeping. In France, German commanders are watching Normandy and trying to decide whether this is the real invasion or a diversion. Garcia's message must be perfect, must be urgent, must convince the Germans that despite what's happening in Normandy, the real threat is still coming at Calais. He transmits in German code, urgent. All my agents report massive army groups still concentrated southeast England under Patton. Normandy attack appears to be diversionary. Main invasion force remains poised for Calais crossing. Recommend holding all reserves for true assault. The message goes out at 3 a.m. London time. It arrives at German intelligence headquarters at 4 a.m. Berlin time. Hitler is still asleep. The officer on duty reads Garcia's message and makes a decision that will haunt German military historians forever. He doesn't wake Hitler. The message can wait until morning briefing. By the time Hitler reads Garbo's warning at 9 a.m., Allied forces have been fighting on Normandy beaches for 7 hours. But Garcia's message has the exact effect British intelligence hoped for. Hitler reads it and becomes convinced that Normandy is a diversion. The real invasion is still coming at Calais. He orders his panzer divisions to remain in position rather than rushing to Normandy. Those panzer divisions, the 1st SS Panzer Division, the 12th SS Panzer Division, are Germany's best armoured forces in France. If they'd reached Normandy on June 6th or 7th, they might have pushed the Allies back into the sea. Instead, they sit at Calais waiting for an invasion that will never come. For weeks they wait. Even after Normandy is clearly succeeding, Hitler continues to believe the main attack is still imminent at Calais. Because Garbo said so. Because Garcia's phantom network, which has never been wrong, confirmed it. The delay gives Allied forces time to establish their beachhead, build up strength, push inland. By the time German High Command realises they've been deceived, it's too late. The invasion has succeeded. Post-war analysis will estimate that Garcia's deception kept German armoured reserves out of Normandy for 47 critical days. During those 47 days, Allied forces secured their foothold in Europe, broke out from the beaches, and began the liberation of France. One message, one fictional spy network, changed everything. On July 29, 1944, German Intelligence Awards Garcia the Iron Cross, second class for his invaluable intelligence services. He never receives the physical medal, can't exactly accept Nazi decorations while working for Britain, but the award is official. Berlin personally authorises it. 2 weeks later, King George VI approves awarding Garcia the Member of the Order of the British Empire for his contribution to Allied victory. Juan Pujol García becomes the only person in World War II to receive decorations from both sides of the war for exactly the same actions. But the war isn't over, and Garcia's game is about to get even more dangerous. After D-Day, Garcia faces an unexpected problem. He's been too successful. The Germans trust him so completely that they're making his fictional network the centerpiece of their intelligence planning. Every strategic decision references Garbo's reports. Every assessment of Allied intentions cites his network. German intelligence has become completely dependent on information from a source that doesn't exist. This creates opportunities but also dangers. British intelligence can now feed the Germans almost anything they want them to believe. Need the Germans to expect an invasion in Norway? Garbo's agents report troop build-ups in Scotland. Need them to overestimate Allied strength? Garbo's network provides inflated force assessments. Need them to waste resources defending irrelevant positions? Garbo's network suggests those positions are strategic targets, but the Germans are also becoming suspicious in a way Garcia didn't anticipate. Not suspicious that Garbo is a double agent, they never doubt his loyalty. Suspicious that he's too valuable. Several high-ranking Abwehr officers suggest bringing Garcia to Germany for debriefing, training, and reassignment to more critical theatres. Some suggest he should return to Spain where he'd be safer. Others propose sending German intelligence officers to Britain to work directly with his network. Any of these proposals would expose the entire deception. If Garcia goes to Germany, they'll interrogate him about his agents and discover they don't exist. If he returns to Spain, his access to British intelligence disappears. If German officers come to Britain to meet his network, they'll find nobody to meet. Garcia and his British handlers create increasingly elaborate stories to avoid these scenarios. One of his fictional agents reports seeing Gestapo surveillance around Garbo's London home. Going to Germany would mean walking into a trap. Another agent warns that recent British counterintelligence operations have made travel extremely dangerous. Garcia claims health problems that make extended travel impossible. The Germans accept these explanations because they trust him, but each explanation adds layers to the deception that must be maintained. Garcia now must remember not only the fictional agents and their backgrounds, but also the fictional reasons why he can't do things the Germans request. By late 1944, Garcia is managing what might be the most complex intelligence fiction in history. 27 fictional agents, hundreds of back-and-forth messages, elaborate cover stories for why things can't happen, financial records for payments to people who don't exist. And every single detail must remain consistent across thousands of communications over 3 years. The psychological strain is enormous. Garcia later describes feeling like he's living inside a novel he's writing in real time, where any plot hole could mean death. He's lying to everyone except his wife and his British handlers. The Germans think he's their loyal agent. The British use him as a tool. His family in Spain believes he's a businessman abroad. Even his neighbours in London don't know his real identity. And then, in May 1945, everything he's built over 4 years collapses in a single moment. Germany surrenders, the war in Europe ends, and Garcia suddenly faces a terrifying question. What happens to a double agent when there's no longer two sides to play against? May 1945. The war ends and Garcia faces an unexpected danger. Not from Germans, they've lost. From former Nazis who might seek revenge if they discover Garbo's identity. From Soviet intelligence who might want to eliminate Western agents. From the chaos of post-war Europe where secrets can get people killed and old scores can be settled without law or order to stop it. British intelligence offers Garcia protection and compensation for his service. They suggest he stay in Britain under a new identity, give him a government position, set him up with a pension. But Garcia realises something that makes all these offers meaningless. He's been living a lie for 4 years, multiple lies actually, pretending to be someone else, managing fake identities, writing fictional reports. The psychological toll has been crushing. He's developed anxiety that makes him check every shadow for threats. He trusts almost nobody. His marriage is strained from years of secrecy and stress. And now the British are offering him more of the same. A new false identity, more hiding, more pretending to be someone he's not. Garcia makes a decision that shocks his British handlers. He's done with the intelligence work, done with lies, done with false identities. He wants out, completely out. He wants to disappear so thoroughly that neither friend nor former enemy can find him. I want the world to believe I'm dead, he tells his handlers. The British think he's overreacting. The war is over. The Germans, who might want revenge, are scattered, defeated, many of them dead or imprisoned. The danger is minimal. But Garcia is adamant. He's spent 4 years as multiple people simultaneously. He wants to spend the rest of his life as just one person, living quietly, bothering nobody. The British agreed to help him stage his disappearance. In late 1945, Garcia dies of malaria in Angola. The British file official reports, notify appropriate agencies, even create a death certificate. As far as any official record is concerned, Juan Pujol García, Agent Garbo, the most successful double agent of World War II, died in Africa and was buried there. Then Garcia, very much alive, moves to South America with his family under a new identity. He settles in Venezuela, opens a small bookstore, lives quietly, tells nobody about his wartime activities. Not his new friends, not his neighbours, not even his children get the full story. For 39 years, the world believes he's dead. British intelligence believes he's dead. Former German intelligence officers believe he's dead. Even most of the British handlers who worked with him assume he actually died. Garcia vanishes so completely that when historians start trying to research Garbo's true identity in the 1960s and 1970s, they hit dead ends. The man who fooled Hitler has now fooled the entire world, including the people who helped him do it. But in 1984, something happens that forces Garcia back into the light. A British author refuses to believe he's dead and begins searching across South America for a ghost. 1984, Caracas, Venezuela. A 72-year-old bookseller named Juan opens his shop like he has every morning for decades. He arranges books, makes coffee, waits for the few customers who still browse bookstores in an age of television. He's lived here quietly since the war ended. His neighbours know him as a pleasant Spanish immigrant who minds his own business. Then one morning, a letter arrives from Britain. The sender is Nigel West, British author researching double agents. The letter begins, "Dear Mr. Garcia, I have reason to believe you are the person who worked as Agent Garbo during World War II. Garcia's hands shake as he reads. His first instinct is to burn the letter. Deny everything. He's been dead for 39 years. He wants to stay dead. But then he reads further. West isn't threatening to expose him. He's asking for permission to tell Garcia's story, to give Garbo credit for what he accomplished. Garcia sits with that letter for 3 days. Part of him wants to refuse. He's built a life on anonymity. His children barely know about his past. Why risk everything to tell a story from 4 decades ago? But another part of him remembers the years of pretending, the elaborate network of lies, the D-Day message sent at 3 a.m., the satisfaction of knowing his fiction changed history. He spent 4 years being multiple people simultaneously. Maybe it's time the world knows which person was real. Garcia writes back. Yes, he's Garbo. Yes, he'll tell his story. But he has one condition. He wants to return to Britain one more time, wants to see the places where he worked, wants to meet the few surviving British officers who knew his real identity. In 1984, Juan Pujol García travels to London for the first time since 1945. British intelligence, astonished that he's alive, arranges a private ceremony. The Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, personally receives Garcia at Buckingham Palace and acknowledges his contribution to Allied victory. The ceremony is private, no cameras, no press, just a handful of people who understand what Garcia accomplished. But word leaks. Reporters track him down. Suddenly the man who stayed hidden for 39 years is front-page news. The spy who saved D-Day found alive. Garbo emerges from shadows. The greatest spy nobody knew existed. Garcia gives a few interviews, speaks carefully about his wartime work, but he refuses to glamorize it. When reporters call him a hero, he demurs. I hated fascism. I did what I thought necessary, nothing more. Someone asks him whether he felt guilty lying to so many people for so long. Garcia considers the question seriously. I lied to the Germans every day for 4 years. I lied to protect my family. I lied because the alternative was letting fascism win. Was I guilty? Perhaps. But sometimes lies serve truth better than truth itself. He returns to Venezuela shortly after, lives quietly for another 4 years, dies in 1988 at age 76, finally at peace with both his accomplishments and his anonymity. But his story doesn't end there. Because Garcia's legacy isn't just what he did, it's what he proved about intelligence work that still matters today. Juan Pujol Garcia's story teaches lessons that intelligence services still study today. He proved that successful espionage isn't about fancy technology or extensive training. It's about understanding human psychology, exploiting what people want to believe, and maintaining consistency in an elaborate fiction. Garcia succeeded because he understood something fundamental about intelligence work. Information isn't valuable because it's true. It's valuable because it's believable. The Germans never questioned Garbo's reports because those reports confirm their assumptions. Britain is weak. The invasion is coming at Calais. Our defences are working. Garcia told them what they wanted to hear, and they never looked for evidence that might contradict him. Modern intelligence analysts study Garbo's operation when learning about confirmation bias and echo chamber effects. Garcia created a self-reinforcing feedback loop where German intelligence accepted his reports, made decisions based on those reports, then interpreted subsequent events in ways that confirmed their original assumptions. Even when reality contradicted Garbo's intelligence, the Germans adjusted their interpretation of reality rather than questioning their source. The story also demonstrates the power of narrative over facts. Garcia's fictional network felt real because he gave each character personality, motivation, and believable limitations. His agents made mistakes, got sick, had family problems, argued over money. The network felt human, which made it convincing. Modern disinformation operations follow similar patterns. The most effective lies aren't perfectly crafted, they're believably imperfect. Perhaps most importantly, Garcia proved that one person with creativity and determination can change history. He had no formal training, no technological advantages, no organizational support initially. Just a hatred of fascism, a creative mind, and stubborn persistence. He built a fictional network from scratch using library books and imagination. Then convinced both German and British intelligence services that this network was real. If you found this story fascinating, hit that like button right now. This is exactly the kind of forgotten history we cover on this channel. Stories about ordinary people who accomplished extraordinary things through courage and creativity. Subscribe so you don't miss more untold stories about the spies, soldiers and civilians who changed World War II in ways the history books often ignore. Leave a comment telling us which aspect of Garcia's story surprised you most. Was it the fake network of 27 agents? The Iron Cross from Hitler? The 39 years hiding in plain sight? Our community spans the globe from intelligence professionals to students just discovering these histories, and your perspective helps these stories come alive. Juan Pujol García refused to be a footnote. The British rejected him. The Germans tried to use him. He outmaneuvered them both. He turned himself into the most important spy neither side knew they had. He saved thousands of lives on D-Day with a message sent at 3 a.m. describing events that never happened. And for 39 years afterward, he lived quietly in a Hawaii bookstore, surrounded by fiction, having written the greatest fictions of his life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for remembering. And remember, sometimes the best way to serve the truth is telling the perfect lie at exactly the right moment. That's what Garcia understood. That's what changed the war. That's what makes his story matter.